Jim Smith. I'm a retired banker and a quilt artist with my partner Andy Brunhammer. Our quilting is almost a 24/7 operation where I do a lot of the design work and the marketing of our quilts, and Andy does the sewing. So in the purest sense of the word, he's the quilter, but he is actually a better sewer than I am. So that's why he spends the time on the machine and I spend the time on the computer. I was forced into a retirement because of a car accident. And then when Andy retired, we then looked at each other and said, do you want to try this full time? Just to keep ourselves busy. And we looked at each other and said yes. And that's how it sort of began. I've always drawn. I've always scribbled, doodled, from my artwork to my piano to working with the computers and working with software. I've always had ideas constantly happening. When I start to create an art piece, it's almost like I start with it's a seed. And I think maturity over the years has been for me where I don't need an audience. It's now specific to myself. Now, in our quilting, it's together, Andy and I, but there's a certain part of me that I will get a high when the piece is finished. Or like when I play the piano, I sight read, so I play by sight. I think, okay, I know it's supposed to be written as a ballad, but let me try it as a piece of jazz. So my mind then just begins to wander with that creative process of doing something different, something allowing myself to sort of float free in the creative process. In the year 2000, I was in a major car accident. Actually, what I was doing was picking up a hanger for one of the quilts. And a woman ran a red light and T-boned me and hit me at the driver's side. The car was totally destroyed. It was a van that hit the car. I ended up with major brain trauma. And I was out of it for about 7 days. Not in a, it was sort of like I don't know what you call it, but I wasn't in a coma, but I was not here. When I did come to, after the 7 days, it turns out that I ended up with major, like PTSD. I then decided about 3 weeks later to go back to work, but I was passing out, and the lawyers and the doctors then all decided that, no, Jim, you can't work anymore. That to me was the biggest effect. This was the year 2000, 16 years before my retirement. And I then was put on disability, short-term disability, which moved into long-term disability. I had a major speech impediment for 2.5 years. I went to all types of therapists, etc., etc. I read. I was here alone at the house by myself. I read, even 6 months later when a private eye came to the house, he said, would you like to see pictures of the accident, which I don't know. Today I don't even remember the accident. I have no recollection, but I still was not able. What it did, it affected my short-term memory and my immediate recall. And with that, I had to find some things to do. And one of the things I decided to do was take some piano lessons again. I do play the piano, sort of. I'm not really a great piano player. And I decided to take it, but what I found what was happening was that, well, I had developed neuropathy in my fingers, hands, and in my feet. Ready? This is not about you. Ready? Go outside. Let him go outside. Go. Sorry about the dogs, but that's normal around this house. With the neuropathy, I had to find something to do with my hands for exercise. I was told by the doctors I could not be stationary all the time. When I started piano lessons, we found out that I was transposing the treble clef and playing it with my bass hand, and the bass clef and playing it with my right hand. So I was transposing the music but not realizing I was doing so. I had sort of got the damage. This is not clinically proven, but it was determined that I ended up with some sort of dyslexia that was caused by the brain damage. So I had to work through that. And what I did was working piano lessons and taking. Now I have been playing piano for years and on and off, and I have as you can see, an electric baby grand. But so I just started playing, and I took piano lessons to keep the exercise and movement in my fingers. I was diagnosed years ago hyperactive, so I had to move. And as I'm getting older, the hyperactivity is still there, but it's not in the way that I can express. I cannot sit still. So. But getting on the piano also helps the blood to move through my feet, because I'm moving my legs, my feet up and down with the beat, with the music, and I'm playing that, the piano, and I'll sometimes sit for an hour to 2 hours a day. While Andy's quilting, I'm playing the piano. So that's basically, out of that. I have since retired legally from the bank. It was just things I had to get around, but I found that through the arts, through the music, through the quilting, I have found those type of things keeps my mind going, but not just my mind, but also the physical parts of my body.
One of the benefits that I think we've both seen from working specifically on quilts is it's very beneficial for our hand-eye coordination. So it really does benefit with some of the things that may deteriorate as you get older. It helps with my eye coordination with my hands. I did have some eye-related issues recently, and I could see it as I was sewing. I started to lose some of the vision. I needed some surgery, and it was really helpful after the surgery to get back into sewing and gaining back all of the coordination with hand-eye. Also, overall, I think from a health perspective, for me personally, it has helped a great deal with some of the health issues I've had over the years. This really allows me to focus on something outside of health. I don't have to sit and worry about what's going to happen to me next. This I get so involved in that I tend to forget about things that normally would have worried me before. So a lot of the stress is gone from what I experienced prior to doing quilting.